Seacat was a British short-range surface-to-air missile system intended to replace the ubiquitous Bofors 40mm gun aboard warships of all sizes. It was the world's first operational shipboard point defense missile system and was designed so that the Bofors guns could be replaced with minimum modification to the recipient vessel and using existing fire control systems. A mobile land-based version of the system was known as Tigercat. History. Seacat was designed by Short Brothers of Belfast for use against fast jet aircraft that were proving to be too difficult for the World War II-era Bofors guns to successfully intercept. The missile was based on the short-screen light prototype, itself a development of the SXA-5, a research missile based on the Australian Milcara anti-tank missile to test radio manual guidance of a short-range surface-to-air missile. It replaced the Orange Nell development program for a lighter weapon than the enormous Sea Slug missile. The first public reference to the name Seacat was April 1958, when Shorts was awarded a contract to develop a close-in short-range air-to-air missile. Royal Navy acceptance of Seacat as a point defense system instead of the Bofors L-60 and the more effective Bofors L-70 with proximity-fused shells was controversial, as many doubted the effectiveness of Seacat, as well as use in point defense against air attack. Seacat was justified as an anti-missile against Styx missiles of the Warsaw Pact navies and Middle East and Asian clients of the Soviet Union, and as a large shell for junk bashing and countering fast attack craft. It was also justified on its ridiculous simplicity and ease of maintenance, compared with the Mk5 twin Bofors and SDAAG-type mountings, and is a weapon with great export potential and a good example of UK technological progress in line with the Sandys 1957 Defence Review and New Broom. The missile was shown for the first time to the general public at the 1959 Farnborough Air Show. The first acceptance trials of the Seacat on a warship was in 1961 aboard HMS Decoy. The Seacat became the first operational guided missile to be fired by a warship of the Royal Navy. Later it was adopted by the Swedish Navy, making it the first British guided missile to be fired by a foreign navy. Design features. The Seacat is a small, subsonic missile powered by a two-stage solid-fuel rocket motor. It is steered in flight by four cruciformly arranged swept wings and is stabilized by four small tail fins. It is guided by command line of sight via radio link, i.e., flight commands are transmitted to it from a remote operator with both the missile and target in sight. Variants. All Seacat variants used a common 4-rail, manually loaded, trainable launcher that incorporated the antennas for the radio command link. All that was required to fit the system to a ship was the installation of a launcher, the provision of a missile handling room and a suitable guidance system. Seacat was widely used in NATO and Commonwealth navies that purchased British equipment and has been used with a wide array of guidance systems. The four systems used by the Royal Navy are described below. GWS-20. This guided weapon system 20 was the initial system, which was intended to replace the twin 40mm Bofors Mark V gun and its associated fire control systems. The original director was based on the SDD and was entirely visual in operation. The target was acquired visually, with the missile being guided via a radio link by the operator inputting commands on a joystick. Flares on the missile's tail fins aided identifying the missile. The more advanced CRBF director equipped with spin-scanning radar Type 262 for automatic target tracking could also be used. HMS Eagle SGWS-20 was trialed on board HMS Decoy, a daring-class destroyer, in 1961. It was subsequently removed. It was carried in active service by the Fearless-class landing ships, the Type 12I Rothesay-class frigates, the Type 6180 frigates HMS Lincoln and HMS Salisbury, and the first group of county-class escorts, HMS Kent and HMS London, updated to GWS-22 in the early 1970s. It was originally intended that all C-class destroyers should receive GWS-20 and the class were prepared accordingly. In the event only HMS Cavalier and HMS Caprice received it. In 1966 refits, GWS-20 saw active service in the Falklands War on board the Fearless-class and the Rothesay frigates HMS Plymouth and HMS Yarmouth, who retained the GWS-20 director when upgraded to GWS-22. GWS-21 GWS-21 was the Seacat system associated with a modified close-range blind-fire analog fire control director with Type 262 radar. This offered manual radar-assisted tracking and guidance modes as well as eyeball visual modes. It was carried as the design anti-aircraft weapon of the Type 81 Tribal-class frigate, the 4 battle-class AD conversions. On the first 4 county-class destroyers, HMNZS Otago and Taranaki and HMS Eagle, it was last used after sale to the Indonesian Navy and refit by Vosper's Thornycroft in 1984 of T-81 Tata, Ashanti and Gurkha. GWS-22 was the Seacat system associated with the full Mrs. 3 fire control director with Type 903 radar and was the first ACLOS-capable Seacat. It was fitted to most of the Leander, Rothesay and county-class escorts as they were refitted and modified in the 1970s, as well as the aircraft carrier HMS Hermes. It could operate in automatic radar-guided, manual radar-guided, manual CCTV-guided or, in an emergency, eyeball-guided modes. It saw active service in the Falklands on board all these classes. The final Royal Navy Seacat variant. This used the Italian Alenia Orion RTN-10X fire control system with Type 912 radar and was fitted only to the Type 21 frigate. This variant saw active service in the Falklands. Tigercat, a land-based mobile version of Seacat based on a 3-round trailer-mounted launcher towed by a Land Rover, and a second trailer carrying the fire control equipment. Tigercat was used exclusively within HM forces by 48 Squadron RAF Regiment between 1967 and 1978 with 12 launcher units, being replaced in service by Rapier. Tigercat were also operated by Argentina. A total of 7 fire units were captured by the British, some being ex-RAF units bought by Argentina, India, Iran, Jordan, South Africa and Qatar. Argentina deployed it operationally during the Falklands conflict. No kills or any kind of success were initially believed to have been achieved by the Marine-manned Tigercats, but according to more recent work, a Tigercat missile scored a near-miss on the 12th of June, which scored substantial damage to RAF Harrier XW-919, spraying the local powerhouse roof with shrapnel and leaving the aircraft with Category 4 damage. Service. Seacat became obsolete due to increasing aircraft speed and the introduction of supersonic, sea-skimming anti-ship missiles. In these cases, the manually guided subsonic Seacat was totally unsuited to all but head-on interceptions and then only with adequate warning. A Seacat version was tested for intercepting targets flying at high speed near the water surface. This version used a radar altimeter, which kept the missile from being guided below a certain altitude above the surface and hence prevented the operator from flying the missile into the water. This version was never ordered. Despite being obsolete, Seacat was still widely fielded by the Royal Navy during the Falklands War. Indeed, it was the sole anti-aircraft defense of many ships. However, unlike the modern and more complex Sea Dart and Sea Wolf systems, Seacat rarely misfired or refused to respond. In even the harshest conditions, it was capable of sustained action, which compensated for its lack of speed, range and accuracy, and, more importantly, it was available in large numbers. After the Falklands conflict, a radical and urgent reappraisal of anti-aircraft weaponry was undertaken by the Royal Navy. This saw Seacat rapidly removed from service and replaced by modern weapon systems such as Goalkeeper CIWS, more modern 20mm and 30mm anti-aircraft guns, and new air squads carrying the Sea Wolf missile, including the vertical launch version. The missiles were fitted to the 4 Swedish Östergötland-class destroyers, replacing 3 Bofors L-70 guns with a single launcher on each ship. The Östergötland-class destroyers, which were of late 1950s origin, were retired in the early 1980s. Seacat was mounted on all 6 River-class destroyer escorts of the Royal Australian Navy and was removed from service when the final ship of this class was decommissioned in the late 1990s. In the final variant, fire control was provided by GWS-21 guidance system supported by Mk44 fire control computer. Secondary firing positions based on visual tracking of the target through binoculars mounted on a synchro feedback mount was also available. HMAS Torrens was the final ship to live fire the system prior to its removal from service, and this was also the only time 3 missiles were on the launcher and fired in sequence, resulting in 1 miss and 2 hits on tow targets. Operators: Argentina, Argentine Army, Argentine Navy. 2 Seacat quad launchers installed on the cruiser Ara General Belgrano in 1967. Argentine Marines use Tigercat launchers, now replaced with RBS-70. Australia, Royal Australian Navy. Brazil, Brazilian Navy. Chile, Chilean Navy. Germany, Indonesia, Indonesian Navy, now retired. India, Indian Army, Tigercat. Indian Navy, Seacat. Iran, Imperial Iranian Air Force, Tigercat. Islamic Republic of Iran Army, Tigercat. Islamic Republic of Iran Navy, Seacat. Jordan, Royal Jordanian Land Force, Tigercat. Libya, Libyan Navy. Malaysia, Royal Malaysian Navy. New Zealand, Royal New Zealand Navy. Netherlands, Royal Netherlands Navy. Nigeria, Nigerian Navy. Philippines, Qatar, Military of Qatar, Tigercat. South Africa, South African Air Force, Tigercat, known as Hilda locally. Sweden, Swedish Navy, Östergötland-class destroyers after refit. Thailand, Royal Thai Navy. United Kingdom, Royal Air Force, Tigercat. Royal Navy, Seacat. Venezuela, Navy of Venezuela. Zimbabwe, Army of Zimbabwe, Tigercat.